A Syrian girl in a refugee camp in Turkey. Mistaking the camera for a weapon, she raised her hands. 2012. A little boy gives an older boy a flower after arriving at Auschwitz. 1944. All the people in the photograph were executed by the Germans that same day. The pear of anguish was invented in the 16th century and used to punish women for adultery and abortions. It was inserted into the intimate area, and the screw was turned, causing infernal torment. Lotus feet, an ancient tradition in China, was a fetish based on a woman's helplessness. The mutilated feet prevented her from running away, which gave the man a feeling of power and tempted him with permissiveness. In the last century, striptease became popular entertainment at funerals in Taiwan. The tradition originated in mafia circles. Despite a ban in the 1980s, the tradition has survived in rural areas. Trump is a chump, an anti-Trump rally by the Nation of Islam in front of Trump Towers in 1988. In 1961, the U.S. Air Force accidentally dropped 2 nuclear bombs on Goldsboro, North Carolina. One bomb nearly detonated, which could have caused an explosion 260 times more powerful than Hiroshima. A wedding procession in the 1960s, USSR. The entire village would gather for the newlyweds' celebration. Hysteria at the funeral of Ayatollah Khomeini, the leader of the Iranian Islamic Revolution. The crowd of frenzied Shiites tore his shroud, taking pieces of his body as holy relics. In the stampede, the body was dropped and trampled 3 times. Russian scientist Alexander Bogdanov hoped to achieve eternal life by transfusing blood from people younger than him. He later died after a transfusion from a student with malaria, who fully recovered after the transfusion. A white girl and a slave girl, 1880. Brazilian Empire. In the Middle Ages, women used lead-based whiteners for a porcelain skin tone. This cosmetic, popular until the 19th century, caused poisoning, emaciation, disorientation, lack of appetite, and took the lives of many. A photograph of Rainy Bethia, taken 2 weeks before his hanging for the rape of a 70-year-old white woman. It was the last public execution in America, 1936. White slaves on the plantations of Barbados. Light-skinned slaves were cheaper than dark-skinned ones, as they were less resilient and obedient. Private First Class Helmut Schmuck, 19th a paratrooper of the 173rd Airborne Brigade, prepared for his first jump in combat. Vietnam, 1967. The Republic of South Africa is the world leader in the number of rapes. Every 4th man in this country is a rapist. A woman born in South Africa is more likely to be raped than to learn to read. Auschwitz, 1944. German officers and guards have fun, while countless victims are killed and cremated daily in the nearby death camp. Fashionable women with bronze rings on their necks. Fashionable women in eastern Burma do everything to make their necks as long as possible. Mandarin Wan Hu ordered 47 rockets to be tied to his chair to fly to the moon. The chair exploded, and the Mandarin disappeared. The servants thought he had flown away. China, 16th century. This before and after photograph shows the devastating consequences of lobotomy. The before photo shows a person full of emotion. The after photo shows the consequences of the treatment. The Lebensborn program operated in the Third Reich. Racially pure women slept with SS officers to produce true Aryans. Over 12 years, 20,000 children were born through this program. French women who had connections with Germans were publicly humiliated as traitors. The irony is that France itself capitulated in 43 days, but it was the women who were portrayed as traitors. The result of a bet lost on the outcome of the 1948 U.S. presidential election. A policeman and an elderly woman during protests against a new tax in central London, 1990. A man raised this bull and then sold it to the arena. The wounded bull recognized him among the hundreds of spectators and ran up to him, seeking salvation. The man kissed him, after which the bull was killed. Spanish newspapers dubbed this the kiss of Judas. The execution of the conspirators who assassinated American President Abraham Lincoln, 1865. The Football War, 1969. A 6-day military conflict between El Salvador and Honduras. The pretext for the war was the loss of the Honduran team to the Salvadoran team in the playoff matches of the World Cup qualifying stage. 1991. Iraq announces a ceasefire and withdrawal from Kuwait. A huge column of soldiers was retreating to Baghdad, but President Bush ordered their destruction with bombers. 2,000 burned vehicles, and the bodies of thousands of soldiers were left on the highway of death. There are theories that Hitler escaped. According to the most popular, he and Eva Braun left doubles behind and hid in South America, where they lived to old age under false names. The photo allegedly captures a 75-year-old Hitler. Manute Bol, the tallest player in NBA history. The basketball player's height was estimated at 7 feet 6.9 inches, 231 centimeters. The emotions of a man who served over 38 years in prison for a murder he did not commit after being found innocent. Ohio, USA. Hindu Mahant Amarbarti Ji has kept his right arm raised since 1973. He has followers who worship him and replicate his feat. Blackface by Eva Braun, wife of Adolf Hitler, 1937. The beginning of the era of deception, a demonstration of inflatable bra, 1952. Winter 2011. Kim Jong-un consoles cadets who are grieving the death of Kim Jong-il. In the spring of 1933, thousands of Gulag prisoners were put on Nazinsky Island without food to build a settlement. By summer, only 2,200 of the 6,700 had survived. There was famine and cannibalism, USSR. The 1,000-yard stare. A rescued German submariner on the deck of the Canadian frigate Swansea, 1944. The 1960s became the era of the miniskirt. However, women had to fight for the right to wear them. A Ride on the Metro, 1990. 16-year-old Hitler Youth member Kay Punchler listens as an American sergeant reads out a life sentence for war crimes, 1945. Maria Goes to Bed, one of the very first pornographic films in the history of world cinema. The film was shot in Paris in 1896. In 1935, 6-month-old Hesse Taft was chosen as the ideal Aryan baby by the Nazi magazine Sohn ins Haus. The only problem was she was Jewish. A minute before execution, the harsh realities of war and inhumanity. The British lined up Muslims of India for refusing to fight against the Ottoman Empire, World War I, 1914. American soldiers leave their names on the walls of the bedroom where Adolf Hitler was born. Braunau, Austria, 1945. In 1969, when black people were banned from swimming near white people, TV host Mr. Rogers decided to invite Officer Clemens to join him and cool his feet in the pool. This is Teresa Adwentowska from Warsaw, severely traumatized by the war. In 1948, in a residence for disturbed children, she drew home on the blackboard. She was 11 when WWI began, 36 when WWF began, 74 when Star Wars was released, and 116 when COVID-19 began. Her name is Kane Tanaka, and she was the oldest living person on Earth. She lived until 2022. In 1971, civil rights activist Ann Atwater was forced to work with KKK leader Ellis. Later, Ellis renounced the Klan, tore up his card, and dedicated the rest of his life to fighting for equality. And arrested Saddam Hussein, Iraq, 2003. A hang glider made from a bedsheet, parquet flooring, and other materials, used to escape from a British prison, 1945. Lee Harvey Oswald, the assassin of John F. Kennedy before his death, 1963, USA. The arrest of Rosa Parks for refusing to move to the whites-only section of the bus, USA, 1956. Photo caption: my mother in the early 1930s. She would be 100 years old today. 1865 portrait of Brigham Young, second president of the Church of Latter-day Saints, founder of Salt Lake City, and the first governor of Utah. Young had 57 children, with 56 different wives. Before the invention of alarm clocks, knocker-ups woke workers by knocking on their windows. Mary Smith earned 6 pence a week by shooting dried peas at workers' windows. London. This little girl was separated from her family, but it was her only hope for survival, 1938. As part of the Kinder Transport operation, Great Britain took in thousands of Jewish children. Camels against the backdrop of burning oil fields. The Gulf War, all because of money. Iraq, 1991. 18-year-old Arnold Schwarzenegger with his classmate, 1965. These kinds of doors helped alcoholics of the past find the keyhole after their alcoholic procedures. Mass burning of the Parangi, the Veil, Andijan, Uzbekistan, 1927. What do you think of this traditional decoration for mercy women? Plates that stretch the lips. Hitler was afraid of visiting dentists. He often complained of toothaches, had terrible bad breath, yellow teeth, abscesses, and gum disease. Freddie Overstegen, a Dutch girl and killer of dozens of Nazis, along with her friend and sister as part of the resistance, lured men into the woods where they got a bullet in the head. Before releasing a new batch of cigarettes, the manufacturer must ensure they don't kill too quickly. They test cigarettes on those who have no legal rights. As a rule, this leads to an agonizing death. Under the supervision of Turkish army officers, Kurdish children write on a blackboard, "How happy is he who calls himself a Turk?" The Great Depression, USA, 1931. Maranasati, a spiritual practice in Hinduism in which one must contemplate the entire process of a corpse's decomposition in order to despise death. German refugees cross a destroyed bridge. Elbe River, Germany, May 1st, 1945. Auschwitz was the deadliest of the Nazi concentration camps. Over 1.1 million people died there. Of the 7,500 camp staff responsible for these deaths, only 750 were punished. High society girls dressed in the latest fashion. Paris, 1910s. Serbs gathered in the church in the town of Glina by the Ustaš for extermination under the pretext of converting to Catholicism. Glina Massacre, 1941. Children take cover in an underground shelter to escape the explosions. Spain, 1938. A Dutch riddle from World War II. To answer the question of where the fifth pig was hiding, one had to correctly fold the picture along the indicated lines. Marlene Dietrich, detained at a train station in Paris in 1933 for violating the ban on women wearing trousers. In Mozambique, Africa, a bald man was once again killed and beheaded. The reason is a superstition that the heads of bald men are full of gold, and some locals believe this. World Bank President Paul Wolfowitz takes off his shoes before entering a mosque during a visit to Turkey, 2007. A 25-year-old woman at the grave of her brother, who served in the U.S. Army in Iraq and Afghanistan, 2013. East German soldier helps a little boy sneak across the Berlin Wall, 1961. At the start of a combined dog and women's race, USA, 1927. Sunglasses were originally intended for syphilis patients, as the disease causes extreme sensitivity of the eyes to light, and the glasses help them go outside calmly. Soviet soldiers harass a German woman, Germany, 1945. Students at Augustana College react to the not guilty verdict of O.J. Simpson's murder trial, October 3, 1995. Greta Bösel, a trained nurse, was a guard at Ravensbrück, and as Arbeitseinsatzführerin helped select women for the gas chamber. Pacific Islanders examine an F-4U Corsair aircraft. At first, they mistook the soldiers for deities, 1943. In the past, smallpox marks on the face were considered an advantage when applying for a job. They indicated that the person had already recovered from the disease and would not infect their employer. A woman with a portrait of her son greets the last train with former German prisoners of war from the USSR, 1955. A Red Cross nurse records the last words of a British soldier, World War I, 1917. A prisoner at the Dachau concentration camp during a medical experiment, 1943. Beauty pageant winners, Washington, 1922. The blood-stained chair in which U.S. President Abraham Lincoln was sitting when he was shot in the back of the head by John Wilkes Booth over 150 years ago. Beauties from the 1940s tried to save their skin from burns before sunscreen was invented. British fascist Oswald Mosley on an attempted march through Manchester, 1962. American Marines pose against the backdrop of a huge mushroom cloud from a nuclear explosion, Nevada, May 1952. Thank you for watching this video until the end. I hope these photos impressed you. Some may have made you angry, brought a smile, made you happy, or perhaps even caused some negativity. Feel free to leave your comments and stay tuned for the next part. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Bye.